Okay, so we are live on YouTube. So welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to DDF Footy Chat on the opening weekend of the brand new season, on a day where Eric Ten Hag's army failed, when they played some gross football, on the Friday night where Arteta's men ran riot, and on a day also when Brendan Rodgers' men almost had it, only for Ivan Toney to pop up and get an equaliser. But after that, certain things started to happen. I was impressed with what I saw from the opening day, from the opening kind of weekend for a variety of reasons. So it's going to be good to hear everybody's thoughts today. About what they witnessed, what they experienced, some of the dross that was on display. Wait, it wasn't Ivan Toney that scored the equaliser, was it? It was that.
No, he scored the first one.
Yes, it was. But still, Toney came in and tonified Leicester. Anyway, so we're just going to get straight into it.
That's Nick trying to deflect already, Tom, don't worry.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, Nick. You can't deflect forever.
It's fine. Boys, opening day of the season. Arsenal lost 3 in a row in the opening day, and they did all right last season. Anyway, so we're just going to get straight into it. So, of course, we are going to be looking at Crystal Palace versus Arsenal. We're going to be looking at Leicester versus Brentford, and we are going to be we're not going to be looking at United versus Brighton. All right. So, if we just get straight into it, we will start with the opening fixture of the weekend, which was, of course, Crystal Palace versus Arsenal. Now, here we go. I'm prepared for Matt to go off on one and say how good they are. So over to you, Matt. Let's hear your thoughts on the opening game of the season.
I mean, I'm not going to do that at all, to be honest. But my first point is it's nice that Arsenal are first, because I watched Match of the Day yesterday and they put Arsenal on last because it didn't happen on Saturday or whatever. So I was waiting all of flipping Match of the Day to see the reactions of Shearer and Wrighty and Gary Lineker, and I'd fallen asleep by the time Arsenal got on. But yeah, so to the game, brilliant start. Gabriel Jesus was just running rings around them. I was thinking we'd get a fairly early goal, which we did, but after that, Crystal Palace really made it hard for us, and we then had to show our defensive side, which I was happy to see, because our defence showed that showed their fight, showed how tough they can be in them times when they're getting attacked. So I was happy that we're able to keep a clean sheet. Some great tackles from all four of our back line, and plus Ramsdale also saved a few that should have gone in. To be honest, probably if Crystal Palace had been more clinical, they might have gone in, but still made some good saves. But it wasn't a 10 out of 10 performance. I was hoping that Jesus would get a goal to open up his season, but it wasn't happening for him. So hopefully, against in the next couple of games, we'll see Arsenal be a bit more clinical in front of goals. Like Martin Odegaard, for example, just not pulling the trigger. So yeah, I'd like them to maybe practice their first time shots a bit more, be more confident in just having a pop, because you never know what can happen. But there was just too many times, just typical Arsenal, we were trying to just walk it into the net. So I'd like that to change. And with Jesus coming into the team, he's a very clinical finisher. So hopefully we can start to see that. But yeah, obviously happy with the win. A lot better than, as you said, the start of last season, where we had a very different away start, where we got beaten 2-0. So it's already 100% better for Arsenal this season, and just got to keep it up.
Yeah, Okay, Tom, what did you think of the game?
Oh, the Arsenal Crystal Palace game. Yeah, I thought in particular, I thought Zinchenko looked sharp. I thought the new signings looked sharp, and they've come in straight away and hit the ground running. So that's why I think Arsenal are going to have a good season. They've picked the right signings, and everyone it looked a sharp team. Arsenal did. I think there's big things to come this year from them.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'd agree with what's been said. I thought it was a decent performance. Obviously, going to Palace is not an easy ground to go to.
We haven't beaten Palace in the last I think we've beaten once in the last 10 times or something that we played them. So yeah, they've been somewhat of a bogey team for us recently.
Yeah, I think Palace have been a bogey team for a lot of the bigger sides, but going to Palace away is not an easy thing to do. You could tell kind of like that Palace hadn't really had a proper pre-season, that's for sure. I mean, they had a load of players, first teamers that had to stay behind whilst the rest of them obviously went off on tour. I still think Palace will be absolutely fine. I think that they definitely carry a threat and stuff. Edouard, obviously should have scored from quite a few of his chances, but Ramsdale made some good saves. I mean, defensively, yeah, solid, but there were a lot of shaky moments. I don't think anybody can dispute that. I mean,
no, but there always will be.
I mean,
we play so much from the back, we need to be more confident on that.
I don't think Zinchenko is defensively sound at all, and that was one of the reasons why he was taken off. And I mean, the commentators even said that he was very, very shaky going forward. He was good, but obviously he's a left back, so I think that he's going to have to sharpen up defensively.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you on that. Like Tierney is definitely better defensively than Zinchenko, and Tierney also offers something really good going forward as well. So personally, I'm not going to say who I think should be in the start because I think they both have their positives, they both have their strengths. I'm just happy that we've got two really solid left backs to be able to choose from because I think that's what we need. We need some depth. We haven't had depth for ages.
Yeah.
So it's good to have that choice really. So yeah.
Yeah. And William Saliba finally made his Premier League debut after 3 years of waiting for it. So, and I know you're a big fan of him, comparing him with Virgil van Dijk and all that.
I mean, I didn't compare him to Virgil van Dijk.
Wow.
It was actually your boy Gary Neville that compared him to a young Rio Ferdinand. So, yeah, like positive, really positive performance from Saliba. So yeah, we just got to see if he can keep it up because he's 21 years old. He's commanding the defense like he's been in that team for a while, and like you said, it's his first game that he's played for Arsenal. So yeah, it's positive things, positive signs. So yeah.
All we got to do is wait till he comes up against people like Harry Kane and stuff to actually. Obviously,
yeah, I mean, exactly. Crystal Palace aren't the fiercest of opposition, but yeah, like I can't. I honestly, I can't wait to see what he can do against that because it could be really good, but at the same time, he could get found out. But I just remember that last season when he made that really good tackle on Mbappe. So yeah, we just gotta wait and see. There's literally nothing we can say other than he had a good game. He commanded the defense. He made some really good tackles. Didn't make any errors, and yeah, on to the next game.
It'll be interesting to see what he does when Tomiyasu's fit, though. Who's his first choice central defensive partnership going to be?
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see. All right. Okay. So obviously, Arsenal are now in the top two. The Premier League title hunt is on. They are in a title race with their rivals, Tottenham Hotspur. Let's see if they can carry that on to the end. So, ladies and gentlemen, do let us know exactly what you thought of the Crystal Palace versus Arsenal game. Okay, let's move on to Leicester versus Brentford. Tom, a penny for your thoughts.
Just thought it was like a game from last season, to be honest. Not the worst of last season, I question. They've got a new tactical approach. They're kind of in pre-season they were showing they wanted to play with like inverted fullbacks. So instead of the fullbacks overtaking the wingers, the fullbacks kind of drop into midfield to plug in some of the gaps. So they did that quite nicely in pre-season. And there were signs of that today as well, a new tactical approach. But Barnes is injured. That's kind of his given more space on the wing. We could have done with a bit of energy. And we're missing Ricardo Pereira, but no excuse for today's performance. I thought we had some really, we were 2-0 up. We were looking like a third goal. We were about to, we will keep pressing, and all of a sudden we just lost energy. And then Brendan Rodgers came out afterwards and said, the team was fatigued and all that sort of stuff, which everyone's fatigued. It's the first game of the season. Yeah. Like everyone's in the same boat. But he made one sub the whole time. I mean, Brentford made 5 subs. If they're so fatigued, make more than one sub. That was frustrating. I was shouting the whole time, right, make some more subs, get some more fresh legs on there. I was shouting, he took Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall off, who is, by each game, he's getting better and better. He came out pre-season and said, "You've not even seen, you haven't even seen anything like what I can do yet." So he's really confident. He made some bold claims about himself, and he completely justified that today with his performance. They took him off, and the game wasn't the same. So Brendan Rodgers, I thought it was a bad move. I know that Brentford made a few switches in their midfield, so he thought he would take Dewsbury-Hall up, while Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall off and bring on Patson Daka. Didn't work at all. It was completely the wrong tactical move, and because of that, we drew the game when we should have won. So it's a shame, really, because at 2-0 up, we had the game in our hands, and we just threw it away like last season. So I'm a bit disappointed.
Yeah, it's a shame actually, because I wanted Leicester to be decent, and to be fair, from the highlights that I have, well, obviously I didn't see the game live or anything, but the highlights that I have done, I don't think you were terrible by any means. And actually, the first half you were very, very decent. I think unfortunately it's just defensively you weren't very strong today. I mean, Ivan Toney, he bullied your centre backs today.
Exactly.
His first goal his first goal was centre forward play at its finest. Hold that ball, outstrengthen your opponent, get it in the back of the net. Really, really good. I like Ivan Toney a lot. But yeah, it's just a shame. Obviously 2-0 up, not able to hold on to it. And obviously concerns must be coming to Leicester fans, given that Schmeichel's gone and Fofana potentially is going to be going off to Chelsea and things.
So let me address some of these things.
You're in the know, are you?
Yeah. Tom knows everything, mate.
Yeah. I didn't say I'm going to address Fofana. Right. But in terms of the goalkeeper situation, I've always liked Danny Ward, who is now Leicester #1 goalkeeper. According to post-match interviews, there won't be another goalkeeper coming in. So we're going to stick with Danny Ward. Brendan Rodgers has always said that he considers him to be a #1 goalkeeper. He says he's always got 2 #1 goalkeepers at Leicester. Danny Ward was bought for something like 12 million from Liverpool. And he's always played really well. He's played well for Wales as well. So I think we're going to have a good season with him. I'm not too concerned about that. Fofana, records are going to have to be broken. And I think if records are going to be broken, I think Leicester might, just because they haven't got. Brendan Rodgers has said we're going to refurbish the team, we're going to refresh it. And now recently, literally last Monday in a podcast, in a radio interview, he said we've got literally no funds to buy anyone.
Yeah,
you haven't sold anyone.
I heard that the other day that Leicester are in financial trouble, and that was only after you were telling me that Leicester are one of the only teams that aren't in debt or something.
But they're not in debt, and that's the problem. That's the reason. They're not willing to go into debt, so they're not willing to do the things.
I heard it was 200 million, which isn't really a massive debt. But
basically, they spend within their means, so they're not going to do anything. They're not going to do anything hasty. And
unless you sell. Unless you sell players.
Exactly. We haven't sold any players, and that we were hoping to sell some players, but we haven't. I mean, maybe some championship subs have come in for some of them, but they're not going to want to go. The players aren't going to want to go to those teams. So we're in a really difficult place. We haven't sold any players. We haven't got money to buy anyone. So for some records to get broken for Fofana, and we're talking 80+ million here. We're talking more than Maguire. I know that for a fact. They're not going to settle for 70 million, not for Fofana. They're going to want.
They'll come for 85, is what I'm hearing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
that'll probably be as high as they'll go, but I think that'll probably be as high as they'll need to go. I mean, Rogers has said that Fofana and Maddison aren't for sale. It's just interesting. The only players that anybody wants to buy are the ones that you're desperate to keep, and rightly so. You know, Fofana has got huge potential. Maddison, same again. Easily one of your best players in the team. Obviously Tielemans. Yeah, we all know what's likely to happen with Tielemans. Somebody's going to buy him. You know, hopefully Arsenal. And then, I think that was pretty much it. Obviously Schmeichel's gone now. So yeah, I don't really see any other players that are likely to attract a hefty price tag. I'm sure there's a few that you'd like to get rid of, but none that you would miss. Like you would miss a Maddison, Fofana. So it'll just have to be, you know, if crazy money comes in, can Leicester afford to pass that up?
I'm gonna make a prediction. There was a bit of talk on like post-match talk for Leicester saying 90 million was a price Leicester might just accept. 85 million, I don't know if they would accept.
You cannot pass up 85 million.
I don't know. But Leicester are not that desperate to sell. Like we do need money. Our team isn't that bad. We're not that. If we were that desperate, we would. We're not that desperate.
Yeah,
I mean,
the thing is, though, is that the longer that you leave it, obviously the contract starts to run down, which means
5 years.
I get that, but also he ain't worth 85 million. Leicester have got this thing about over. I mean, I read an interesting stat, and when wasn't it Saliba and Fofana? They were both at Saint Etienne together, and Saliba was better than Fofana. So Fofana is worth 85 million, and Saliba already is worth 100. You know,
but they're not showing the same amount of potential now in their current progression. Both those players. Saliba's good.
Saliba's worth more.
Who's showing more?
Saliba.
Surely Saliba.
Surely. You think Saliba's showing more promise than Fofana?
He got Player of the Year in League One.
How many Premier League games has Saliba played against Fofana?
Yeah, but he got Player of the Year in League One.
Not Player of the Year, Young Player of the Year.
Okay, sorry, Young Player of the Year, but still.
Yeah,
and like
not in the Premier League, though, is it?
Yeah, but listen, I ain't an Arsenal fan by any means, but I will give credit. When Saliba absolutely dominated that game that he played against Crystal Palace on Friday. And for me, Fofana, Saliba, I definitely think that Saliba has the higher level than Fofana.
Wow. Well, I don't think Chelsea think that, but...
Yeah, but Chelsea also think they're going to make something out of Raheem Sterling.
Okay, we'll see.
Chelsea are also pretty desperate at the moment for centre-backs, and there isn't really anyone on the market that has that... a young player with high potential. I think Fofana is that, but 85 million is a lot.
I don't think it's worth it, but Leicester are not that desperate to sell, so it'd have to
and that's why they'll have to pay that money. That's why
90 million it's going to have to be, 85 to 90, but I'm saying 90. Anyway, we could talk about this all day.
I would prefer Fofana to stay at Leicester because
I would. I don't want to see
I don't want Chelsea to sign him because they'll probably ruin him anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that there's some interesting points. I do think the Fofana Saliba debate is a really good one to have. I think again it will come down to kind of like their individual performances throughout the year. By the way, I also hope Leicester keep Fofana because I was rating Fofana since he came to Leicester. I've always wanted him. But I do think Leicester have got this valuation thing. They overinflate their players just like they did with Maguire. That ain't a bad thing. That is a smart business move. Yeah. But yeah.
Sometimes it's the only thing you can do to keep hold of a player. And it often works in your favour as well because you can get some really good money out of it.
Absolutely.
But can you replace them?
Yeah, and that's the thing, yeah? I mean, Soyuncu, he ain't going to be able to go in and fill that gap for sure. But just going back to the game, for me, it was unfortunate that you lost your 2-goal lead. Listen, you know, it's opening day of the season. This isn't a fair reflection of what your season's going to be like or anything like that. So maybe 2-2, it was a fair result, Maybe it was a fair result. Obviously, I didn't see the game, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Leicester dominated for the first half and a lot of the second, but apart the second, not that much. And then as soon as Brentford decided they wanted to play after an hour, Leicester had just made Leicester look like, a lower league side. So we deserved it. Completely deserved the result today.
Okay. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let us know if you did watch the Leicester versus Brentford game, what your thoughts on that was as well. Okay, so moving swiftly on we'll finish with the United versus Brighton game, but let's just capture some of the other games. Let's get into Liverpool versus Fulham. All right, I'm going to kick off on this. I'm going to say this, and maybe this is too soon to write them off and stuff. Liverpool ain't winning the league. I don't believe that Liverpool are going to win the league. They go on about having the best team in the world, the best centre-back in the world. But privately, I've said this to Matt before, I do think that Van Dijk's on a decline. Maybe it's too early to say that, but I've seen it. It happened with Vidic. It happened with Ferdinand. It's happened with Terry. It happened with Sol Campbell. It always happens to the best players in the world. At some point, they do slow down. This isn't an isolated game that he's had. He did it in the Champions League final. He's done it in some of the preseason friendlies. And yesterday, he was out-muscled. He was bullied by Mitrovic, and that don't happen to Van Dijk. Defensively, there are errors all over the place. Alexander-Arnold is a terrible right back, okay? Defensive right back. He is terrible. Attacking, brilliant. Probably the best in the world going forward as a right back. But surely a right back's bread and butter is to defend. And he doesn't have that ability to do that. Their saving grace was Darwin Núñez. He came in and he scored a clumsy goal. He got a clumsy assist, but they all count. Great for them. But I just don't see how they're going to be able to fend off Man City, if I'm honest. Maybe I have jumped the gun a bit. Maybe Man City are going to start to decline or whatever. But Liverpool go on about being the best in the world and stuff, but they couldn't even beat a championship team. Yeah, because that's what Fulham are, essentially, is a championship team. They're probably going to be in a relegation battle and they still couldn't beat them. I was really happy with Fulham, if I'm honest. They've got pre-season Perlo, as we call him, Andreas Pereira, playing for them. And I thought he was really, really good yesterday. He was
Fulham's midfielders were really good.
Very, very good.
Going through the middle, but also the wide players.
Yeah.
They were, I think they could cause a few problems for a lot of teams.
I to be honest, I hope Fulham stay up. I've never had a problem with Fulham. I think that they're actually a pretty decent team to watch. And yeah, it was just great to see a shock. I was shocked at the result. I was shocked to see that Liverpool go 1-0 down and things like that. But yeah, if we were to make, obviously we're going to make our top four predictions in a bit. If we were to make our predictions right now, I would not be saying that Liverpool were going to finish top. I just think yesterday was just an example of if their midfield's not on it, if it's not ticking over, if their defense isn't on it and it's not ticking over, they're very, very reliant on Mohamed Salah, Mm-hmm. And Salah had a very, very quiet game up until that point where he popped up. And obviously the best players in the world, they do just pop up even when they have their quiet games. I don't know, something just
I don't know why they started Firmino though.
No, they've got to give
that guy's done. He's absolutely. In a Liverpool shirt. He's done. I don't know, why is he still there?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'd agree. Tom, what did you think?
I actually didn't watch the game, to be completely honest, and I haven't even watched the highlights of it. All I was glad was that Liverpool were hurt on the first game of the season, because Jurgen Klopp, he does like to give it some, doesn't he?
Yeah, he likes to blame the dryness of the pitch.
He does like to give it, or the Seagulls at Brighton, he does like to give it some. But, it's good to see him hurt a little bit. And I think it makes it even more interesting, because they've got a lot in the locker, Liverpool. I'll give them that. And I know each of their stars might have their weaknesses, like Trent Alexander-Arnold, but they know the system. They've proven time and time again they can turn things around in the Premier League. So I'm excited. And I'm glad they had a tough start of the season, because it makes it even better, even more exciting. Yeah. Even more crucial for them to turn it on.
Yeah, because you have to ask yourself is how many points are Man City realistically going to drop, especially now that they've got Haaland. I can't see them losing many games, and I can't really see them drawing many games. So Liverpool are really going to have to. I still think, if I'm honest, it's going to be between Liverpool and and Man City.
Yeah,
I hope that it's good. I hope that the other two teams in the top four will be a lot closer to them, which I do honestly think so. I don't think that either Liverpool or Man City are going to run away with the league at all. I think that all of the top teams, bar United, have gotten better. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see. So I just thought I'd bring that into it. But I'm sure we can all agree that we enjoyed seeing Liverpool not running riot yesterday, because I'm sure we all thought that Liverpool were going to absolutely run.
Oh yeah. No, I predicted like 4-0 against. Yeah. I thought they would just dominate and destroy.
Yeah,
but...
I thought Salah was going to pop up with at least 2 goals. He still did well, but he was very, very quiet. Yeah. Okay. So, ladies and gents, do let us know exactly what you thought of the Fulham versus Liverpool game. And just quickly moving on to, I think, of the games I watched, the most boring game of the weekend, Everton versus Chelsea. I thought it was rubbish. Chelsea, not good.
Really boring.
Yeah. I thought actually Koulibaly, he played well. He did what he was supposed to as a defender. But I don't know, they just lacked everything. They relied on a penalty to get them through. And, obviously there was that horrific injury for Ben Godfrey. I think he broke his shin or something. I don't know. But yeah, it was just a boring game. What did you guys think?
Yeah, nothing more to say other than just boring. Chelsea, I just don't go on with Chelsea. It's not because I'm an Arsenal fan, but I look at the team, the tactics, and I'm just like, what is Chelsea's aim?
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I don't really get on with the false 9 system that they play. I like to see attackers actually playing attacking football instead of but yeah, I don't understand it. Yeah. They play boring football.
Yeah, and I do honestly, I rate this player a lot, but I think he's going to start to. I don't think he's going to have a great season. Is Raheem Sterling? I think in the system that he's in right now, he's certainly not going to get the goal contributions that he had with the success that he had at Man City. Unfortunately, he could potentially even take a backward step, which would be really, really unfortunate for him.
It's definitely a backward step. I mean, you look at Gabriel Jesus going to Arsenal. You don't necessarily think, okay, that's a player going from winning the Premier League, going to a team that doesn't necessarily, compete for that top spot at the moment. But you don't see it as a backward step because you kind of see how he fits into a system. Whereas Sterling, I just feel like he needed to move. He's moved to Chelsea, and I just don't think it's going to work out for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Tuchel's got a few problems that he's obviously going to have to sort out. But I think Tuchel will be fine. He will sort his system out. I just don't, I just think that Chelsea are going to fall short unless they suddenly have a majestic last 3 weeks of the transfer window and bring some absolute quality in.
They're going to spend I think they've still got over 100 million. I mean, if they buy Fofana for 90,
yeah,
but I think they could be a few more signings on top of that as well. Surely they're going to buy a striker. I mean, surely.
Yeah, Werner's going now. Anyway, he's going back to Leipzig. So
exactly. So Werner's gone. Lukaku's gone. They've got no striker.
Yeah.
Because Sterling's not a striker. He's a winger.
No, exactly. So let's see what happens with Chelsea as well. And then just moving on to the Man City game today. All I can say is Erling Haaland, people were writing him off and doubting him given his display against Liverpool in the Community Shield. But I want to hate him so much, but he's one of my favourite players at the moment. I thought he's brilliant in the Bundesliga, and obviously coming over here and he's starting to do really, really well here as well. I think Man City are the ones to catch. I think that they can be cool. I think teams can beat them. They're just going to have to contain him a lot. But then you can contain him, but then you've got the other players to all worry about, like Foden, De Bruyne, and things like that. People say Liverpool are the best team in the world. I think Man City are the best team in the world for that individual quality. Whether they can all come together, gel together for the whole of the season, who knows? But on the display today, from the highlights that I did watch, they absolutely dominated West Ham.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think anyone's catching Man City.
Yeah.
If De Bruyne can stay fit, which I think he did for most of last season, didn't he? I think he's kind of got over that injury now.
Yeah.
De Bruyne and Haaland together. Yeah. Be good to see Grealish actually get a run of games. See if he can reignite his form from Villa. Because I do like Grealish, and we need his form going into England as well. Him and Foden, if they could nail down them spots, then that could be really good for England. So now that obviously Sterling's out of the picture, Jesus out of the picture, other than Mahrez, that's really the only other kind of really strong winger that they've got. So yeah, see if they can keep that up.
Yeah,
but also defensively, I think Man City are just way stronger than Liverpool.
They're so defensively sound. Like, you know, if you haven't got Laporta and John Stones, you've got Ake who can just slot in against Diaz, and then you've got obviously Kyle Walker and Cancelo, and it'll be interesting to see whether they do bring any other fullbacks in, because if you did lose Walker or Cancelo or both of them, who would be able to come in? Because obviously Zinchenko's gone now. Who would be their right and left backs? I don't know. So it depends on who they bring in as well. But, you know, Liverpool, the season that they won the league, they almost had an injury-free season, didn't they? And if Man City can do that as well, I just can't see him being caught. No.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So moving on to our final game. Okay. I'm just going to put my collar up for this. I'm going to be
it's Eric Cantona.
Eric Cantona-esque. Eric Ten Hag out. I'm joking. All right. So it's got to put some perspective on this. First game of the season, first official game for Eric Ten Hag. There were certain elements that I did like seeing. I definitely feel like the players have adapted to kind of his system. However, the same individual errors cost us. The same individual players cost us. I actually think that our defense were actually pretty sound today, if I'm honest. Like Maguire, I don't fault him for any of the goals. And listen, everyone knows that I am not Maguire's biggest fan, but I don't think he actually did that much wrong today. Martinez, everyone was slating him for his height and things, but aerially, he was really, really good today. He's a little pit bull. He's super fast. He's very, very aggressive. He did really, really well. But this is where it comes to it. We ain't doing nothing if we don't sort our midfield out. We are not going to do anything unless we sort that flipping midfield out. Now, listen, I actually like Fred. I do like Fred. I think that he showed. I think he's got that tenacity. I think he can make a tackle. But with McTominay, they're both terrible. Together, they are terrible. You know, I was watching it today and I was like, why is there such a big gap? Why is there such a big gap between the defense and them? And the problem was that we were playing a high line. No, that wasn't the problem. But a bigger issue was that we were playing a high line and there was still a big gap between the defense and the midfield. And that shouldn't be happening. You either have Fred to just sit there, okay, and plug all of those gaps, or you do it with McTominay, all right? But you cannot have them both as holding midfielders. You lose a lot. And I thought that when Christian Eriksen went into that CDM position, we started to control the game a lot better. By that point, that game was already done, but he started to dictate the play a lot more. We ended up getting our obviously our first goal, our fluky goal, whatever you want to call it, but things started to change a bit more. And I have to say this, and I know, Matt, you don't think that it's right and all, but we are better when Ronaldo is in that team. I cannot say that we are not a better team when he is in our team, because the moment that he came on, things started to change for us. He gives an aerial presence. He was quick off the mark. He was able to run in on the back of the defenders. He started to change things. And also he starts to strike fear into the opposition as well. That's just what he does. So I think whilst Martial is out, Ronaldo has to play every game. You do not drop your best player. And, rivals can think whatever they want, but Ronaldo currently is our best player. He may be 37 years old, but he's still our best player. And so moving forward, until Martial is fit, I want Ronaldo to play every game because I do think that we look a better team. However, even when Martial is fit, is Martial enough? I don't think so. I don't, because he's injury prone. He's injury prone. He might look good with Rashford and Sancho. They might be fluid and interchanging and things like that. But the moment he has a rubbish game, he loses his confidence. Then he starts to just have fire blanks and all of that sort of stuff. So we either trust Ronaldo moving forward and have Martial as backup, or we get into that market and we get someone. We've been linked to this Sesko. I don't know much about him, but I hope there could be something there. But my point is, well, we've been linked to him, but actually,
mate, you got a bid rejected earlier, 9 million.
But listen, but apparently also now that deal is gone because of all of the racist comments that he's been coming out with as well.
So why did you bid for him?
Well, listen, I ain't the Glazers.
No, I mean, but United have bid for him.
Well, okay, but that's fine. I don't want him coming anywhere near our club. Maybe, I've read that he could be a good impact sub and things like that, but he's 33 years old. We cannot be buying these journeys.
Seriously, you would be disappointed if you signed on Arnautovic. Yeah,
Of course I would. I think it'll make me feel even worse than what I already do now.
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought that was ridiculous when I heard that. After that game where you are clearly missing a striker. Obviously not. You got Ronaldo, but we all know what the situation is with that, and obviously we're not having Martial fit. And then I'm like, Arnautovic, no, he's 33 years old.
He's played in China. He went to China for all his money, and now he's at Bologna or whatever in Serie A. He's a racist and things like that.
It sounded like the biggest load of fake news I've ever heard. And then it came out that they actually had a bid rejected. I was like, wow.
And to be honest, I'm glad that bid was rejected. Again, it's just the Glazers just wanting to get a new signing in for the cheapest cost. If he's not going to be a shirt seller and all of that, they don't want to spend big. That's just how they do it. If it's a Pogba or it's a Ronaldo or an Ibrahimovic, they're like, yeah, let's throw the money at it because we'll make it back in shirt sales. But Arnautovic, actually, not so sure. So we're going to try and get him at the lowest cost,
I mean, who is buying a United shirt with Arnautovic on the back?
Nobody. Absolutely. Well, actually, I might do. But anyway, but going back to my other point is that I can honestly say, out of the top 6 at the moment, do Man City have a better midfield than us? Absolutely, yes. Do Liverpool have a better midfield than us? Absolutely, yes. Do Chelsea? Yes. Do Spurs? Yes. Do Leicester? Yes. Do Arsenal? Yes.
I was going to say, you've got Arsenal, yeah.
Oh, all right, calm down, mate.
That was waiting then. He would have had you then.
But I even look at teams like Fulham. Do they have a better midfield than us? Yes. Do Wolves have a better midfield than us? Yes.
I've got a question, Nick. Something that I just can't stop thinking about is Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah.
His first season at Man U and how unbelievably good he was. Just groundbreaking, really.
Yeah.
So authoritative. And then Cristiano Ronaldo came over last season, didn't really have a great season. Lower stats than Maddison. So I was just wondering, what do you think he's going to do this year? Or why can't you get him back to what he was the first year? Do you really think Cristiano Ronaldo had nothing to do with that? Because I think he did.
I don't think Ronaldo had anything to do with Bruno. How can we honestly sit here and say that Cristiano Ronaldo affected how well Bruno was playing? Because they are individual players. Like Bruno is a cam, Ronaldo is a striker. The problem is that at the moment, I think it was evident last season and it's evident now, is Fernandes thinks that he needs to be the hero. He needs to be the winner. He needs to be the person that is unlocking all of these defenses and things like that. But actually, if you really look at it, today it was Christian Eriksen that was unlocking everything. The amount of balls that he was spraying across it and he was sliding through the gap and things. Bruno, I don't think he had as bad a game as what everyone thinks he had. He actually dictated play quite well. He held on to that ball quite well. Yeah, he lost possession quite a few times, but I can almost guarantee that no player on a pitch does never lose possession. Even De Bruyne loses possession. Every player at some point is going to lose possession. Unfortunately, Bruno is just, because of that standard that he set his first season, he's held at a different in a different view right now, and I think that he's struggling with it. I do think that Ten Hag is going to have to make a decision at some point to say, actually, Bruno, you need to sit out these next 5 games or whatever. You need to really start thinking about what you're doing, and you need to up your standard. Otherwise, there is not going to be a future here for you. I think Eric Ten Hag, he's got a lot of respect from a lot of supporters at the moment because he did drop Ronaldo You know, he didn't bring him back in when everybody thought that he was going to, and he did make some tough calls. And I'm really, really hoping that these players are going to be able to follow suit now, and they're going to start to be able to gain some authority. They're going to start to authority on the pitch. They're going to start to really, really improve their standards. Otherwise, we're going to have a terrible season. And I know that this is a rebuild, but come on, a rebuild can still involve top four. If we are to keep this team as it is and we make no more impactful signings, and what I mean by impactful signings is that they come straight into that team and they hold down their position, then I don't believe we're going to get top four. I don't, because that midfield, there is just too much of a divide between our midfield and all of the other midfield. And it really, really hurts me to say that, because actually there was a lot that I saw today that was really, really good. I liked Delo and Shaw going forward. I liked Martinez and Maguire, how they complemented one another. And I liked us going forward at times. I think that Rashford still needs to get back to his best and things like that. And Sancho, I thought he did really well today as well. And I really enjoyed watching Eriksen. But Fred and McTominay, oh my gosh. If we do not get Frankie de Jong, I genuinely...
No, but you don't need Frankie de Jong to improve that midfield. Yeah, obviously he would, but you've already answered the question. Get rid of McTominay, play Eriksen and Fred together.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Bruno as a cam and Ronaldo as a striker, obviously, and you've already improved it.
For sure, absolutely. And I really do hope that today was two things: that Erik ten Hag has woken up. He's seen it for himself now, that McTominay and Fred do not work together. And secondly, that he's realised that he does, if he really wants to be able to play the way that he wants to play, then he does need an upgrade even on Fred and Eriksen together, because he needs to bring in somebody that is going to, think of all of your teams right now. There is always a player that all of your play goes through. Yeah, there is always somebody, whether it's James Maddison, whether it is Saka or Jesus or whoever you want to pick, right? There is always someone that is going to be your focal point, that is going to dictate play. That is what Frankie de Jong will be. If we're going to get him, I'm honestly 50-50 now. I don't know. But I'm really hoping that this display today was a sign for the Glazers or Arnold or whoever's involved in this, or Murta, is to pay those deferred wages, get de Jong to come, do everything you can to get him. Even if you do have to splash the castle or whatever, we honestly need him. Otherwise, this whole season, I'm going to be very, very quiet, because I don't know I honestly don't know what the future holds for us. So,
in a sense,
that's just my view.
You were glad you lost today to the 40 Glazers.
No, I will never. No.
What was if they lose next week? They're definitely they're more pressure on them, won't they? So there is benefits. You lose it.
Shut up. I will never be happy with.
No, I'm not saying you're happy. I'm saying I'm saying it's an ill wind, isn't it? Like if you lose, it sucks, but there's more pressure on the Glazers to go out and real splash a bet 10 more million than they probably would have done before, because things are that bit worse.
Yeah, no, you could say that. I ain't going to let those words come out of my mouth, because today I was so excited. But yeah, I soon came back down to reality when, Pascal Gross decided to treat us grossly, it was just an eye opener to me to say that these same issues are still present. And this is how I know that last season was not on Rangnick. Yeah, because we still have those same core of players that aren't able to produce. So for me, it is the players, and it's about time that some of them do start to get shipped onto that bench, and we do need upgrades. But
that's my next point. That you haven't really got anyone on the bench. Like, I know you've got some promising youngsters, but is that going to work for you? If you take Rashford and Sancho and say, "Here's the bench, mate," and then you bring on, I don't know who you got, Alanga.
Yeah, no. So for me, the wing is not the problem. I do think that at some point it's going to click for Rashford again. And actually, Sancho, he's not even in this debate. I think that he's absolutely fine. He does a lot of good. It's that middle of the park. And actually, if we ain't going to get de Jong or anything, and we are going to have to put up with abysmal performances, we're going to have to put up with losses and draws, then I'm putting either like Zidane Iqbal into the team, or I'm putting Jimmy Gardner into the team. Let them just...
What about Van der Beek?
See, when Van der Beek came on today, he did well. He showed a lot of neat touches. He played some really, really good balls. But you've got to ask yourself, if Ten Hag can't even get the best out of him right now, then what does the future hold for him?
They made an interesting point. I can't remember who was on punditry, but they brought up the time when Ten Hag says that Van de Beek was being underutilized because they couldn't get the best out of him.
And now
he shouldn't be on the bench, and he's still on the bench.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's had a pre-season. So what's going on?
No, but that's the thing though, is can you just throw these players straight into it? Yeah, that's the question that I ask, right? So could it happen right now? This has been a complete wake-up call. Could it be that when we go to Brentford, that suddenly you do see someone like McTominay dropped, or you see Fred dropped, yeah, and maybe you see Van de Beek come in, or you do see Christian Eriksen drop deeper. Maybe Bruno's taken out of the team. Maybe Van de Beek's put into the number 10. All of that sort of stuff. All I can say is that I am glad I am not the manager. But for me, if we do not get De Jong this week, I do not see us getting him. All right. Honestly, I will hold my hands up and say I don't see us getting him. And the reason for that is because if the reports are true, in order for Barcelona to register their players, De Jong has to be sold. Yeah. Because of his high wages, obviously because of the transfer fee and all of that, he's their highest earner right now. And if he is not sold this week, I don't see him leaving Barcelona. I don't see him coming to us. I don't see him coming to Chelsea, because if they find their way to be able to register their players, why are they going to sell him? You know? So I think this is going to be a massive, massive week. If we don't get De Jong, for me, I'm going to have to say that I'm going to have to be happy to either get 6th or 5th or whatever. And I hate saying that, and I'm happy to get hated or whatever, but I'll have to, because I don't see that our midfield is going to be able to get us to that top 4. So I would rather see someone like Jimmy Gardner come in, or Zidane Iqbal, or even Charlie Savage, you know, because on pre-season, I know he's Robbie Savage's son, but on pre-season, he looked really, really good as well. You know, maybe we do need to go through this year of hurt, get some of the youth really, really well integrated.
We've already been through a year of hurt, mate.
No, but
this is the second year of hurt.
No, but mate, this is Ten Hag's team. Yeah, he is now our manager. Yeah, just like Arsenal have had to go through a transition with Arteta. You know, it's United's turn now to go through it with Ten Hag.
It might just be 10 months of hurt, like Moyes. You know, he might not even that long.
He is not getting. He will not.
Okay, well, who says?
Mate,
who says if
you never know.
If there's stats on there,
he ain't going to get sacked. He won't get sacked.
If there's stats on there,
no. But the difference is that the fans did not want Moyes. The fans do want Ten Hag, you know.
But that could easily change if you didn't get the results. I'm not saying that's going to happen.
But that could be the same.
Nobody's untouchable this year, surely.
You know. But that could be the same. Like, you could go on this 10-game winning streak and then lose the next 15 games, and Arteta would be out of the door. Same with Rodgers. Do you know what I mean? So it's about perspective. It's about context.
Yeah, and I think any of them, if they did have a bad season, could go after 10 months.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. But I have to have that belief that suddenly
of course.
things are going to start.
I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm not saying you shouldn't. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be that bad. I really don't. Like, Manchester United will win games. Let's not put it like Brighton are a good team.
They got a very good coach.
They showed that against you last season, and they were doing some of the same things this season, just passing it around, really precise passing. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, whoa, like, this team is pretty scary.
What? They're so good. They've lost their 2 best players, and they're still good. Basuma and Cucurella. I mean, I was impressed. I only saw some of the highlights today, but I was impressed.
Yeah, I do think that Brighton are going to take a lot of points off a lot of the big teams, or what we consider to be big teams, and they could even themselves be pushing towards that 5th, 6th place, you know, because Graham Potter has got them very, very well drilled, and you know, they could always bring in a few more better players as well, and let's see what they can do. But yes, not happy with the result today. I am in part happy with some of the individual performances, but my key theme here is that midfield wise, we've got to sort it out. You know, I do think that if we had a better midfield today, we potentially would have won that game. But, you know, hindsight's a wonderful thing and all of that stuff. I just hope and I pray, I will be praying tonight that we get De Jong, because if we don't, I don't know what's going to happen. So they're kind of my thoughts on it. So guys, do let us know in the comments exactly what you thought of the Brighton versus Manchester United game today. And if we've got any Man United fans here, I hope that you do share my sorrow and sadness, because I'm not very happy right now. Okay, so that is the fixtures for the opening weekend of the season. So now, just very, very quickly, we are going to go around and do some of our predictions Okay. Actually, no. Before we do that, let's do our well, they're calling it player of the weekend now. So let's do player of the weekend and flop of the weekend in terms of players. So Matt, let's start with you.
Player of the weekend, Saliba.
Really?
Yeah, man of the match performance.
You didn't think there was anyone else that did better than Saliba?
None that come to mind. That
Wow.
like, yes, there were people that could, maybe you could say, equally did better than Saliba. But as a defensive performance, man of the match performance, I'm just throwing him out there.
Okay. And who's your flop?
I haven't actually got a flop. Come back to me.
Okay. Tom, who's your player of the weekend?
Just because of how he's handled the pressure, and I think you know what I'm going to say. It's quite predictable, but he's come there. You know, he's come to Man City with a lot of pressure. I think Haaland's done really well to justify the hype. He's justified the hype with that game. I know he might, you know, take a slump, but so far, you know, fair play to him. Fair play.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I would agree with that. But I ain't looking anywhere other than Alexander Mitrovic. Yeah, the guy, he has been written off so many times. People have kind of thought that he's just a championship level player. He came and he dominated Van Dijk. He dominated that whole Liverpool defense. You know, if he wasn't going up against Van Dijk, he was going up against Matip and Alexander-Arnold. You know, I honestly cannot look past Alexander Mitrovic. He scored 2 goals against them, and he showed really, really good feet. And he's my player of the match.
Well, actually, yeah, you're right, because last time he was in the Premiership, he didn't do too well, if you remember.
No, he didn't.
But he does know what it is like to play in the Premiership. Yeah, he has got that experience under his belt, and it showed today for sure.
Yeah,
maybe absolutely. United could sign him.
Yeah, you're a listen, mate. I cannot wait.
You just gave him player of the player. I
cannot wait for your first league defeat. I tell you. I'm coming for that Arteta out.
Might even happen. Might not even happen. It might be like the Invincibles season.
Oh, be quiet. Anyway, so flop of the weekend, Tom.
Van Dijk.
All right, Matt. Van Dijk. All right.
Oh, Matt.
Yeah. So Matt goes for I almost call him Flandijk. So Matt goes for Van Dijk.
Well, I did kind of have the Liverpool defence in my mind, but I'm gonna go. You know, I know you're saying you don't really blame Maguire, and I guess Martin. I suppose it wasn't their fault, but there was Danny Welbeck. He did kind of.
Did you watch the game?
But did you watch that goal? Yeah, I watched that goal. Yeah.
But did you watch the game?
No, I didn't watch the whole game. No,
he was busy watching his own team, mate.
Oh dear.
Just so you don't watch any of the Leicester games, mate. But you still have an opinion, right?
Yeah, but no, the Leicester players aren't going to be in my flops.
All right, I didn't say definitely, and this is why it's so hard, because there has been no one who's got a red card. There's been no one this week who has done something stupid. There's been some own goals, but it's quite hard. Defensively, I thought Leicester didn't do too well. I thought Marty was out strength. I thought in the same vein, the Man U defense wasn't the best either. So in terms of flops, like, it's really difficult this week. There's been no one that's really stood out.
I agree. That's why I struggled.
But I'm going to say a defence is an issue. And I think the Leicester defence was an issue, the Man U defence was an issue, and the Liverpool defence was an issue. So for me to mention, you know, Maguire, who did play better today, and, you know, in the same way as Van Dijk and Marty for Leicester, I think it's fair. Because there was space in the boxes on all those teams.
It's fair, but I don't think you should do that if you haven't actually watched the whole game. Just like I wouldn't do it with the Leicester players, but that's just my view on it. But I'm going to go for, and you know, I'm going to go for. It's really tricky, this one. Like, for me, there's a couple there that could be flops, and the only reason why I would put this guy up there is just because he thinks he's better than what he is. It's Dean Henderson. Did you guys see the goals that he conceded?
I didn't see that game.
So against Newcastle, Shah, or whatever his name is, their centre-back, scored a long range in which the Henderson just, like, I don't know what he did. It just, like, flapped at it and it went into the top corner. And then their second goal, Callum Wilson, like, it just looped over him and his positioning was absolutely terrible. But anyway, for me, I'm going to go for 2-in-1 McFred. I have to do it, you know, because our midfield was shambolic. I've always tried to give them the benefit of the doubt and think, well, transition period, all of this stuff. But under 3 managers, Mourinho, Rangnick, no, 4 managers now. Mourinho, Rangnick, Ten Hag, and Solskjaer. They've been terrible together.
And Carrick.
All right, Carrick. Actually, no, together they were all right for him. But yeah, I'm going to put McFred into that as my joint flop of the week. Okay, so in terms of your manager of the weekend and your manager flop of the weekend, Tom, will come to you. Who's your manager of the weekend and the flop of the weekend?
I thought Scott Parker.
Who?
Manager of the weekend, Scott Parker.
Who's Scott? What do you mean? Oh, Bournemouth. Sorry, yeah.
Who's Scott Parker, mate?
Not Peter Parker, Scott Parker. I thought Bournemouth came really, I was really impressed with them. The mental strength of Scott Parker, because he didn't do too well in the Premiership with Fulham, did he?
No.
But he's really learned, and he's got some good ideas. So I think he has made some good decisions. But in terms of manager flop, I mean, I'm probably going to say, you could say like Steven Gerrard, because Aston Villa didn't do too good. You could say Hassan Hutel, but I think Brendan Rodgers made a really bad decision in taking KDH off.
Yeah,
in Dewsbury Hall, and after that, it looked like we were doing nothing but drawing or losing. So I'm going to say Brendan Rodgers today for myself.
Wow.
Okay, and Matt, your manager of the weekend and your flop.
Yeah, I mean, again, it is a struggle. We often base these kind of things after like a few, a build-up of games. So just take what I say lightly, but I'm going for Potter and Ten Hag just because Brighton were amazing. Like, their setup was perfect. And United weren't. Their setup was the opposite of perfect. So maybe it's because it's fresh in my mind as well.
Okay.
There's many names that I could say, so don't take it too hard. Steven Gerrard, Aston Villa last season were a great team, and then they go and lose to Bournemouth first game of the season. But I mean, yeah,
no, it's fair. It's fair.
Good. I'm glad you agree.
Just come with that same chest when Arteta loses a game, yeah. All right. So, I am going to go for my manager of the weekend. I'm going for what's his name? I'm going to go for who's the Fulham manager?
Marco Silva.
Yeah, I'm going for Marco Silva to take on the take on Liverpool.
It's a very good shout.
And he played them at their own game. He pressed them high. They won the ball back. He just kept his players going. So unlucky not to get the overall win. I've got to go for it because I think that they played some really, really attractive football as well. And the flop of the weekend, I'd like to give it to Steven Gerrard just because I thought Aston Villa would offer more this season. Obviously Coutinho's going to have a full. He's fully in this season, and they've got Bailey back and all of that, and but I've got to give it to Klopp. I do have to give it to Klopp because I think starting Firmino over their £85 million striker was a stupid thing to do. I just don't know what he was playing at really, and to see how he's considered to be this tactical genius, he wasn't able to kind of like counter that or anything like that. Obviously threw on Nunes, absolutely it worked out, but I didn't really see any tactical switches to counterbalance exactly what was going on, so he'd have to be my flop. But like you said, there could have been many in there. So I mean, I could have given it to Ten Hag quite easily because he decided to play McFred, but I think maybe my United bias won't allow me to do that when Liverpool is such an easy target for that. Anyway, so moving on to some of our predictions now. So very, very quickly, we're going to do who our predicted player of the year is, our predicted flop of the year is, first manager to be sacked, and then relegation and top 4. So if we just start with who our predicted flop of the year is going to be, who do we think it's going to be? So Tom, let's come to you.
Player, yeah?
Yeah, player flop, yeah.
Well, to be a real flop, you have to go somewhere with a lot of expectation. Do you know what I mean? So who has moved recently. A lot of expectation behind them, and today they've shown that the system maybe doesn't suit them. Sterling, perhaps.
Yeah.
So for myself, I think I could see him not having a good season. I mean, I like Raheem Sterling, and I hope he does well, and I hope he plays well for England. But I can see him not having a good season, or as good as he's expected to.
I think that's fair, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking of either Sterling or Richarlison. Like Tom said, it's a high-profile signing going into a new team and potentially not living up to that potential. But I think Sterling's a better shout because I just don't see Richarlison getting that much game time. I don't see how he fits in the system. It was like, let's just buy him for the sake of it, so no one else does. And he obviously needed to move on from Everton.
Yeah.
So yeah, one of them two.
Yeah. No, Sterling was who I had written down as well. I just don't think that the system suits him. So as it stands right now, if he continues to be played like that, I don't see him doing much, if I'm honest. All right. So then moving on to our predicted player of the year. I'll start off. I think it's probably going to be Erling Haaland if he can continue at the rate that he's going. Matt, who do you think?
Yeah, I think Haaland as well. Scary prospect.
Yeah. And Tom?
I think Man City have finally found that really good striker.
Yeah.
They've plugged that gap now, haven't they? That could potentially take them to Champions League, win the Champions League. Because that was, one thing they all struggled with, hence why they were interested in Kane for so long. So, yeah, Haaland, for me, I've got that written down.
Absolutely. Who do you think the first manager to be sacked is going to be? I think it's going to be a toss-up between Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard. I'm going to go for Frank Lampard. I'm going to go for Frank Lampard. I do think that Aston Villa possess more quality currently than Everton do. And unless Frank starts to get his troops in shape, I don't see him surviving very, very long. Tom, on to you.
Wow. I was kind of I was thinking to myself when you asked that, I was thinking, if I was a fan, which team would be happy to stay up? Do you know what I mean? And I think from today's performance, Southampton, I'm saying Hasenhüttl. I'm a Southampton fan from today. I'm thinking, yeah, we're happy to stay up this year. We're not pushing for Europa. We're not even pushing for mid-table. We're happy to stay up. I'm sure that a lot of Southampton fans are happy for saying that. And I do think they've got some quality. But Hasenhüttl, he has before turned things around. So he's got it in his locker to do that. But I could also see him being the first manager to get the sack. Yeah,
no, fine. Matt?
Yeah, for me, it was also between Hasenhüttl and Frank Lampard. I thought them two over any of the newly promoted teams because unless they do really bad, they usually get a little bit of a longer time to adapt. But Frank and Ralph Hasenhüttl, they both finished the season very poorly, and they haven't started in the best either. I know it's only been one game, but so I'm going to go for Frank Lampard.
Okay. And on to who do we think is going to be in relegation? Just very, very quickly, I'm going to go for Nottingham Forest. I do think that they're going to be in it. I'm going to go for, I think Bournemouth and Fulham will stay up. I do. So these other two might be a surprise. I'm going to go for Nottingham Forest, Southampton, and Wolves. I think Wolves' time is up, and I think that they are going to go down. They had the lead against Leeds, and they threw it away. Yeah, they've got some good individual players, but we all know how quickly players can down tools, and I think that they could potentially get relegated. So I'm going to go for Wolves, Southampton, and Nottingham Forest. Matt, who are you going for?
Interesting you say that, because obviously earlier we saw that Conor Cody is potentially leaving Wolves to go to Everton.
Yeah.
And he is like the rock of their back line.
Yeah.
So very interesting move that one could be. But yeah, so Nottingham Forest, yes, I think they'll struggle to stay up. I also had Everton, and then I couldn't decide on the other one. It was a toss-up between Bournemouth and Fulham. I think they might have had a good start to the season, but I think only one of them will stay up. Okay. So I'll say Bournemouth.
Yeah, all right. I think it's because I'd like to see Bournemouth and Fulham stay up, really. But I just see Southampton and the Wolves just going down ahead of them. Okay, so... Yeah.
But of the three, I would really like to see Everton relegated. Really.
I think a lot of people would. Tom?
I think it's going to be Southampton, Southampton, Fulham and Nottingham Forest.
Okay, cool. And then on to top four. Tom, we'll start with you.
I think it's quite easy. I think it's easier this year than it was in previous years. I think it's going to be Man City, Liverpool, Tottenham and Arsenal. Top four.
Okay. Matt?
See, it's not easy for me because the top two is easy. Man City, Liverpool, yeah. But I hate to say Arsenal just because it makes me look like, I'm just wishfully thinking it. And also I don't want to jinx it. But I would hope that Arsenal can get that fourth spot. And then the third is between just Tottenham or Chelsea. But I've got written down Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go for Man City, Tottenham. I think Tottenham will finish second. Liverpool. And the problem is I still think we could potentially turn our season around. I know it's only one game. I mean, look how close Arsenal came to getting top four last season. They lost.
Fine, mate. Say it then.
But it all depends on what we do in this transfer window. So maybe when we come to review the season, maybe halfway through Christmas time, I might say different. But I'm going to go for Manchester United to win the league. No, I'm joking. I'm going to go for Man City to win the league. I'm going to go Tottenham to finish second, Liverpool to finish third. And I'm going to go for Newcastle to finish fourth. No, I'm joking. I'm going to go for, I think it's really hard. I do think that they can... I'm going to go for Chelsea to finish fourth. I do think that United and Arsenal will just miss out. I think it'll be very similar to last season.
I think it was interesting you said Tottenham second, but we'll see.
I just think that they've got so much going forward. I think that their front three is the best in the league. Maybe not individually, but collectively, I don't see a better front three than Son, Kulusevski, and Kane. And if they can keep firing the whole season, I think they're going to be very, very difficult to beat. And
I think it's the manager that makes them dangerous.
Antonio Conte is a world-class manager. He's won the Premier League. He's won Serie A. He's won everything, So I think it'll be really, really interesting. But when we come to a little midway review, maybe at Christmas time, we all might start to think a little bit differently. All right.
Did he win the Premiership with Chelsea?
Yeah, he won it in his first season.
Got you. And he won the FA Cup, didn't he, as well?
Yeah.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah. And then he went to Serie A and won that as well. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of our opening weekend show. Hope that you did enjoy it. Do give it a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it. And we will see you guys next week. Hopefully. Who knows? Hopefully we might be a bit more consistent this